K.W. Krieger presents The Obscura Dossier, Episode 9, Threshold. Statement of Aaron Delaney, given 13th of February 2014, regarding a sleep study conducted at the Lasker Institute and the unexplained disappearance of his roommate, Ellis Keene. Statement begins. It's odd, isn't it? Sleep. You can never quite pin down the moment it actually happens. One minute you're lying there, aware of your breathing. Maybe your thoughts are drifting, or maybe you're just staring at the ceiling. And then it's morning. No real warning, no feeling of slipping away, just darkness, and then light again. And only when your eyes open do you realize, oh, I must have slept. Like it snuck up on you. Like it took you when you weren't looking. I've had nights where I was sure I hadn't slept at all, and then suddenly it's 7 a.m. and my phone alarm's buzzing. And I'm left wondering, when did that happen? What minute, what second? There's no line between awake and not. It just goes. Lately, though, it doesn't feel like nothing at all. It feels like there's a gap, like something missing between the moments. Something I didn't notice slipping past. Maybe that moment when you slip away is when something else slips in. I started thinking about that a lot after Ellis vanished. We were part of a university sleep study, 2 weeks overnight monitoring, no screens after 8 p.m, controlled diet, the usual stuff. They made it sound harmless, clinical. Just lie still, wear some wires, maybe write about your dreams if you had any. I needed the cash. Ellis, I don't know why he signed up. The place was called the Lasker Institute. Out on the edge of town, squeezed between a shuttered rehab center and a row of hollow-looking office buildings. No sign, no windows, just a blank concrete building with a glass door and a buzzer. It looked more like a utility bunker than a clinic. Inside, the air had a sharp, chemical clean smell, like someone had just scrubbed something out of sight. And the staff? They were polite, professional, but too quiet. Not in a calming way. It felt like everyone was trying not to say the wrong thing, like they didn't want to draw attention to themselves. They paired me with Ellis Keene. Late 20s, maybe. Pale, dry-eyed. Wore his hoodie like armor. That first night, he looked around the room and muttered, "The walls look padded, don't they?" I laughed. He didn't. Our room was basic. 2 single beds, white walls, no windows. A red LED in the corner blinked softly to let us know the monitors were active. No clocks, no mirrors, just blank surfaces and that slow, rhythmic flash in the dark. The first couple nights were uneventful. They wired us up, EEG caps, heart rate monitors, motion sensors, and left us alone. I couldn't get comfortable. The mattress felt like one of those cheap plastic ones from old hostels, stiff in the middle, thin on the edges. Every time I moved, it made a faint crinkling noise, like something wrapped in paper underneath. Ellis didn't seem to mind. He slept right through it. Out cold the moment his head hit the pillow. But every morning he looked worse, like something was feeding on his sleep. And every morning there was just a little less of him left. It was around the third or fourth night when Ellis started talking in his sleep. It began as mumbling, barely a whisper, like he was talking from the back of his throat instead of his mouth. I almost didn't notice it at first. I was lying there, staring up at the ceiling, trying not to think about how bright the red LED felt in the dark. And I heard it, rhythmic, repeating. I couldn't make out the words. I don't even know if they were words. They didn't sound like any language I recognized. Some of the sounds were too soft, others too wet, like trying to pronounce something underwater. It made my skin crawl in this quiet, low-level way, like a smell you can't place but know you shouldn't trust. The next night it happened again. Same pattern, same breathy, looping sounds. Only this time he was sitting up. Just sitting there, bolt upright in bed, eyes closed, lips moving, whispering that same warped nonsense over and over. And then, just like that, he lay back down. No reaction, no sign he'd ever stirred. The sensors didn't beep. He never triggered the motion monitors. I mentioned it to the researchers the following morning. One of them asked me to describe exactly what I heard. I said I couldn't, not clearly. Just the sound of it, how it felt more than what it meant. The man, Dr. Harron, I think his name was, he smiled, not in a friendly way, more like he was pleased. He told me sleep talking was common in early deep stage cycles, that it was probably stress related or some kind of dream rehearsal. But he asked me very casually if I'd be willing to write down anything I heard from then on. Exact syllables if I could. That's when I stopped mentioning it. I didn't like the way he looked at me when he asked. Like I'd brought something into the room with me and he was waiting to see if it would come back. It happened on the 7th night. I remember because I'd finally managed to fall asleep before Ellis started talking. I thought maybe things were settling, maybe it was just a weird phase, like sleep terrors or stress dreams. I woke up to the silence. Not a noise, silence. Heavy, thick, like the kind that makes your ears ring. The red LED in the corner was off. I didn't notice it at first, just this strange blankness in the dark, and the sudden realization that something was missing. No hum from the monitor, no flicker from the light, no breath from the other side of the room. And then, just for a second, the overhead lights flicked on. A single sharp flash of white. Not a full second, less than that, like a camera flash in a dark room. In that instant, I saw Ellis. He was standing next to his bed. Not sitting, standing. His arms limp at his sides, head tilted slightly back. Mouth open like he was mid-sentence. His eyes were closed. And right behind him, pressed up against the wall, was something else. I can't describe it, not really. It wasn't a shape I recognized, just a space where something shouldn't have been. was. Then darkness again. When the lights came back, full, steady, Ellis was gone. The bed was made, the wires were coiled, the monitors were still logging data. I sat up and just stared. It was like he'd never been there at all. No sound, no motion, no doors had opened, no footsteps, just gone. I went to the front desk, told them something was wrong, that Ellis had vanished. The tech barely looked up, said he probably left in the night, that it wasn't unusual for participants to walk out mid-study. But when I asked to check the door logs, they told me there weren't any. Privacy reasons. They offered to move me to a different room. I didn't sleep that night, or the one after. I should have left then. I wanted to. I even packed my bag. But the staff insisted I stay. They told me Ellis had withdrawn from the study, signed something apparently. No cause for alarm, just one of those things. They said leaving now would ruin my dataset, waste the funding, no compensation. They said it all very politely, very quietly. I stayed, but I didn't sleep. Or at least, I don't remember sleeping. I'd lie there for hours, trying to keep my eyes open, blinking until they burned, watching that red LED pulse against the ceiling. Every time I blinked, I counted. 1, 2, 3. Then it would be morning. Every time. Like I'd blacked out. No dreams, no awareness, no sense of time passing. Just that blink. And then the sun would slit under the door. I'd wake up with a headache. My jaw sore like I'd been grinding my teeth. Sometimes I'd find new wires attached. Ones they hadn't told me about. One morning there was a sensor on my ankle. The next, something clipped behind my ear. They said they were running variations, that it was all part of the study. No one mentioned Ellis again. The night before I left, I heard something. Not in the room, inside my dream, or what I think was a dream. I couldn't see anything, just black. But I could feel the room, feel the air, feel my own body lying there, frozen. Not asleep, not awake, just stuck. And then breathing right next to me. Not mine. Long, slow, damp, like someone taking in air through a mouth that wasn't built for it. It stayed for hours. Or seconds, I don't know. I just remember that I didn't open my eyes. I didn't move, and eventually I blinked, and it was morning again. They discharged me 2 days later, told me the data had been very promising. It's been a few months since the study ended. I'm back in my flat, back at work. On paper, everything is fine, but I haven't really slept. Not properly. When I do, it's not restful. My dreams feel like places. Not scenes, not stories, just rooms. Empty hallways, flickering lights. Sometimes I'm in an office building with no windows, walking endless grey carpet past water coolers that buzz too loud. Sometimes it's a motel corridor where every door is slightly open, but if I look inside I wake up. And sometimes it's the Lasker Institute. Always empty, always clean, always waiting. The worst is when I dream of my own bedroom. Everything looks the same except the corners. They're too dark. And there's a second version of me lying in the bed, and I don't know which one of us is dreaming. I've tried to stay awake for as long as I can, but eventually it gets me. That moment, that missing moment, still happens. One blink too long and I'm somewhere else again, and every time I come back, it feels like something came back with me. Not in the room, not in the mirror, just close enough that I can feel it watching when I close my eyes. And I keep thinking about what I said before, about sleep. How there's no clear line between being awake and being gone. No threshold, just one state, then the other, and no memory of how you got there. I used to wonder if death was the same, if you just drift, and by the time you realize you're gone, it's already happened. Now I'm starting to think it is. But the real question, the one that keeps me up at night, is whether you're alone when it happens. End statement. Another dream-related one. I can't say I'm surprised anymore. But there's a heaviness to this one I can't shake. Like we're brushing against something behind a thin veil. Something vast, and far older than we are. Not hostile, just far beyond what we're meant to understand. Still, I have a job to do. Follow-up inquiry into the Lasker Institute yielded minimal documentation. Property records show it was privately leased for 7 months under a shell company registered to a dissolved pharmaceutical subsidiary. Ownership trail ends in Lismore. The facility has since been vacated, all interior surveillance equipment was removed. Residual power draw suggests devices were operating on independent systems not tied to the main grid. Attempts to retrieve participant logs were unsuccessful. Hard drives recovered from the Institute contained partial data fragments, primarily raw biometric readings. Data logs recovered from the sleep studies monitoring systems contained corrupted EEG recordings from the nights referenced in the statement. Specific anomalies noted: rhythmic low-frequency waveforms, 4.1 Hz, repeating in 13.7-second intervals. Inconsistent with any known sleep cycle. When sonified, the signal pattern resembles vocal modulation. Transcripts flagged for potential memetic risk. It resembles the structure of whispered speech, though no identifiable language has been confirmed. No digital or physical records of Ellis Keene have been found, no employment, education, or health history. An inquiry with local police flagged one historical missing persons report under that name 5 years earlier. No resolution. Subject Aaron Delaney was contacted for post-statement follow-up but declined further interviews. Informal monitoring suggests signs of sleep deprivation and altered circadian function. No evidence of violent episodes or public disruptions at this time. Dreams described in the statement align with commonly reported post-experimental disorientation symptoms, liminal distortion, non-Euclidean architecture, and perceived dual occupancy of physical space. Frequency and consistency of these features, however, suggest an external agent of influence. Case remains open. Recommendation: Anomaly Code H-073-Kappa. Classification: Psychological. Status: Active, recurring. Priority: High. End recording. The Obscura Dossier is a podcast created by K.W. Krieger, licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 4.0 international license. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, drop a comment, and subscribe. And as always, until next time.